All right, thank you, gentlemen, for agreeing to be on the show with me today. Both of you have tons of experience. I can't even talk about all of your experience because there is so much of it. So I want to hear from both of you. We'll start with Greg. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Greg.
Well, Andy, remember, we make up our resumes to suit whichever situation in which we find ourselves.
All right.
I'm nothing more than a street urchin from East Detroit. I was lucky enough to have a lot of amazing and incredible experiences when I was a kid. Add to that, a veteran of the U.S. Army, former copper, human behavior profiler, which I've been perfecting for 40 years. And all combined, that's kind of made me an effective human behavior storyteller.
Oh, all right. I like that. And what about you,
Yes.
Brian?
So I grew up in Chicago. I was in the Marine Corps for a little while, then worked for the Marine Corps after that in training and testing stuff, and then started kind of deploying again a lot overseas with different government agencies, and then kept running into Greg at different places. So finally, I think it was like 2012, Afghanistan. He just said, "Hey, man, this someone keeps putting us together. Do you want to come do this stuff with me?" And we had worked together before in the past, obviously, and then since then I've been working along with him, and then now we've doing it on our own for the last few years here.
That is awesome. Well, today you guys are talking with us about how we can survive the holiday season. I don't know if you've ever had to give like a discussion like this before. So Greg, you always talk about gift giving. I hear you
Right?
all the time on the show talk about give yourself the gift of time and distance. What does that mean?
Andy, it's no secret the human brain hates divided attention. So anytime that we have things that we're competing for, we're not going to do very well. And so your brain wants to run on impulse power, repeating behaviors over and over every day to conserve energy for that one moment where it's going to be a survival situation. However, we've evolved past that, and you can't maintain hypervigilance. So instead, it's better to give yourself time and distance during the day so your brain isn't caught off guard. And all that means is training yourself to make decisions further away from areas of potential critical incidents and slowing time down in your head. With training, you can do it, and that gives you more profound, better, more fidelity filled decisions than having to react to somebody jumping out of the shadows like a shoot, don't shoot situation.
Very cool. Brian, what do you think about when you hear him say, give yourself the gift of time and distance? Is that if you ever been in a situation where you thought, I really need to use this right now?
So we all have those different types of situations of gift and time and distance. I mean, just think back to your own life and go, man, I wish I had 1 second or an hour or a day or a month to think about that, right? But we don't always get, we're not thinking that in the situation. So it's in everything, and we talk about human behavior profiling and situational awareness, all the different stuff, the areas that we get to play in and do, but to us, it's all the same, meaning the same skill set that I'm going to use to keep me safe with my family is the same thing I use. It's the same framework I use to get through my day, meaning, hey, what's off today? Did I not sleep well last night? Is that why I'm arguing with my wife? Is that why I'm upset about here? So sometimes it's just taking that breath, stopping for a second, look left, look right, take a bigger breath in and smell your environment and go, okay, what's the best course of action for right now? And 99 out of 100 times, that alone right there is probably all you need.
Right. Right. Just that taking that breath and having that one extra second. I tell you what, man, there's been plenty of times, I've said, oh man, if I just had an extra second to think about that, that would have been huge.
Yep.
So in the theme of gift giving and shopping, where a lot of us are going to be out in public, doing our shopping and running around in all these different public places. What are some behaviors that we need to be aware of when we're out in public that could be a red flag for us? What's something that we can watch for?
I First thing I would tell you, first of all, Andy, love your show, longtime fan. Brian and I both.
Oh, thank you.
You did a great episode on carjacking. That was brilliant predictive analysis in a situation where you can manage. Second, I remember an episode that you had on. I can never think of the guy's name, but he does the dude skills. You know what I'm saying?
Patrick
And this guy's
McNamara,
lifting,
yeah.
yeah, Pat. And so he's lifting tires and pulling cars with his teeth and doing that. I'll never be that guy. Do you
Right,
get
me
what I'm
neither.
saying?
Yeah.
I'm a biscuit shy at 300 pounds. I ate that biscuit for breakfast. And so what I have to do is I have to outthink an opponent because I'm
Right.
not going to stand flat footed and fight him. And I'm likely never going to outshoot him. So I don't carry a concealed weapon. If I need one, I'm sure somebody around me is going to have one that I can take. But the idea is that you have to read, smell, feel, taste, and environment. And those are all atmospherics. And the atmospherics of an area can predict what's about to happen, the most likely and most dangerous courses, much quicker than any environmental. So instead of trying to go up and be this Superman and take on the entire world, calm down and read the situation as it unfolds before you. If your body is reacting differently, combine human behavior and human performance. If your body is telling you this stinks, something's wrong, it's not passing the smell test, time to hit the road.
Absolutely. I love it. I like the fact that you're saying you're never going to be the guy who can outrun and outshoot everybody. And not many of us are.
That's
That's
right.
not a personal reflection on you. Not many of most of us are not going to be a Patrick McNamara who can do all that sort of stuff. I think I don't know, Brian might be close. What do you think there, Brian?
Well, on that, absolutely not. So that's why I'm actually
Clearly.
terrified of everything in my environment, which is the only reason why I'm still alive today. But no, and the whole thing is even back to Pat McNamara, who's like the baddest of the baddest dudes,
He's
came
wonderful.
from the tier 1 agency or units. There's someone out there bigger, stronger, tougher, faster, smarter than him. So there's always going to be a better opponent or someone. So just like Greg said, it's about cognition. Man, I don't want to burn the calories having to fight someone. In fact, if I'm at fighting, I'm already lost, right?
Mhm.
It goes back to martial arts. If you have to draw your sword, you've already lost the fight. So how do I do that? And what Greg is talking about too is having this plan and just taking that time, to the gift of time and distance. It doesn't have to be something elaborate. If you plan out your day with, hey, first I'm going to go here at this time, this is how I get here, this is a basic contingency plan. Now, since I have a plan, that allows me the freedom of movement. I can look around, I can be more aware of my environment because I'm not thinking about what I have to do next or what I have to do right now. So what I'm doing is I'm freeing up all of my attention to just be in the moment in the situation. And that's when you're going to start to identify, because you asked about, everyone wants to know, hey, what are these little behaviors or what's body language that I can look for? The problem is you can't go, oh, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's not how it works with human behavior. It's lawn chair plus basketball equals the beach towel. And then there you go. You've got it. We go. You're right. So there is a couple things about attention that you can learn. You learn about your attention and what someone else is giving attention to, and we tie it back to what we call mission focus and predatory looks, right? We felt that feeling of someone staring at us that made us uncomfortable, or someone looking at something and not being able to look away at all. That's mission focus, right? If I'm so locked in at something, now that's your kid staring at their favorite toy on the shelf. That's mission focus, man. That's you. You're looking to get to your car because you're already running late and you're missing everything that's going around you. So that happens to us all. But if I combine that with all of a sudden some anger cues and some predatory looks and someone looking too long, those are little indicators that I have to go, well, what are they looking at? What's so important in their environment right now that they keep staring at that over there? So those are like little small ones that we love to give because you always have to put these observations into context. But those are behaviors that you can pick up on because they're things that you do yourself, right? You're staring,
Right.
eating the popcorn, watching the movie. Man, that's mission focus. So you can identify those things in others.
And
Right.
Andy, I think Brian brought up an incredible point for anybody, the everyman, the person that's the white belt out in the environment, and that's planning ahead. So it's not going to take the fun out of your holidays. It's going to take some of the spontaneity out. And being spontaneous might seem cool, but it opens up opportunities for bad guys to exploit you, to access you and your family. So just rehearsing a couple of minutes before you leave the front door. I'm headed out to see Santa. Where am I going to park? Okay, where are we going to meet if something happens? What's the code word that something's wrong? And you address this on a daily basis in your book and on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's brilliant. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I can't bench press 500 pounds anymore, and running is just me moving my arms faster. But I can take a minute and size up a dangerous environment and choose not to be a victim.
Right. I love that. Choose not to be a victim. And you talked about, I'm gonna go see Santa tonight. So this is where I'm parking. And I actually flash back to the last time I went to go take my son to see Santa. And it's not in the best part of town. And I'm like, red and yellow flags here and there and all that kind of stuff. But I also hear you guys saying you can't ignore what's going on around you. You have to think critically about what's going on, right?
And it's a game. It's playing
Yeah,
explanatory
playing a game.
storylines game. So when I pull up and I see a school circle of people clustered around a car, my mind goes, okay, did the guy just hit somebody? Is the guy showing off his new car? And then, like Brian was talking about the context, the environment builds the relevance for my context or the context for my relevance. And so I quickly, using the gift of time and distance, staying behind cover, waiting for the second before I cross the street, I try to size up what's most likely. If everything is most likely, I'm probably okay. If I'm getting the danger warning, Will Robinson, and a couple of things are flashing hot, I don't go. I absent myself from a likely dangerous situation.
And one of the keys to being effective at that, especially with the family, is that communication. So
Mhm.
even Greg and I, as much as we've worked together and we're out together now, you don't ever have to be like us because we're completely insane, but that's what we
Exactly.
do for a living, right? But even him, when we're standing there talking and we're waiting to go in somewhere, and I have to take a phone call, and like I communicate with Greg, hey, I got to take this call, keep an eye out, and that means he's now looking up and out while I'm down and in scrolling through. Well, I do that with my wife all the time. All right, hey babe, you gotta make a call, you gotta respond to that text. Okay, cool, I'll look up and out. Hey hon, I gotta make this call real quick, or I'm gonna go do this. Now she's keeping an eye on her daughter. So there's just the basic communication, because everyone's now on the same page. And even if you don't have a detailed plan of what to do if something happens, you already know where everyone is in your team.
And Andy, I need your orientation. I need your eyes. So when Brian and I, we were just doing a gig at a hospital, and so we're walking across the parking lot, and I catch out of my peripheral guy that's paralleling us, and so I glance over, and I couldn't be sure what it was, but it was interesting enough that my mind attended to it. And I said, Brian, what's the guy at my three holding in his hands? And then Brian takes a look, drops back for a second, and you know what? Immediately the other guy looks and goes, I don't know what they're up to, but I don't want any of that.
Right.
You showing that you're aware of what's going on around you isn't hypervigilance. It's not paranoia. It's you communicating with your environment. You can't do it while you're staring at your phone. You can't do it while you're changing your kid's diaper and there's nobody else to be your wingman. So, when you talk about being more safe and secure in your podcast and in your book, attention is the 90th percentile. It's
Yep.
the gold standard.
Yeah. So, this is a family show. So when I ask you guys for examples about, when you've seen things in your vast careers, I want to hear from each of you. Tell me something, a behavior that you saw one time that turned out to be something that you really needed to take notice of, and you made a decision based on what you saw.
My legal advisor says I can't say anything right now. My screen just flashed green. No, listen, I was lucky enough over the years to be able to talk down a number of armed subjects while I was in a covered position, and solely my ability to read their body language, their mannerisms, to measure the atmospherics of the environment, and then to be able to psychologically de-escalate them allowed me to come out safely. The other officers or first responders to come out safely, and many times the person with the gun to come out safely. And I credit that to human behavior pattern recognition analysis and a gift of time and distance. Simple as that. It's worked for me, and I'm here, lucky enough, knock on everything holy, to prove that it works.
Very good.
Yeah, I think I've had definitely plenty, but it's more so in identifying those pre-event indicators that we talk about. And I have one combat example, just loosely, that we were in a hide site and I was in a clandestine area, or in a clandestine position, and there was people out on the street doing their thing, and they didn't know I was there, or I didn't think so, until all we saw was a kid ride by on a bike doing normal traffic, and for some reason he slowed down in front of our position, and it was nothing more than just a quick glance, and I knew right then and there was absolutely no reason for him to look up to where we were, that we were burned. But that having, focusing on all the behaviors of everything else wouldn't have got me there. It was just literally just looking and seeing what was different about everyone else that passed by, and that was a subtle one. But I always bring it back to, standing in line at this food truck. It was later in the evening, and people were drunk, and they were, wanting to get food. And there was one person who was loud and pissed because he didn't get his spot in line or whatever. And what does that start to do? So we call that the rock in the pond, right? That rock hits that pond and that ripple goes out, and then everyone reacts off of that. Well, in this situation, you could see people start getting frustrated. The people working there were getting frustrated with him. They were people in line started to get upset, and so the guy working there, rather than escalating it, leaned out, of his window, said, "Hey, bud, come on here. I'm going to go ahead and take care of you right now." And then got up here to get him his stuff and remove him from the situation, and you could literally feel the pressure valve release in that situation. So that's what we like to do. Now that guy just did an amazing psychological de-escalation tool that some people have to train to be able to do that, but we all have that ability. So we always look during those situations is, how can I de-escalate this situation versus make it worse? Because I can't
Right.
control other people, but I can control how I react to other people.
Right. And it's good to always, not posture yourself to look like the bigger guy to make the other person back down. It's just go ahead, let's just de-escalate this from the beginning. And it sounds
Yeah.
like these two guys in line were hangry with each other, and
Yeah.
that leads to all sorts of
Oh
problems.
yeah.
Tell
So
me
Yeah.
Brian,
about it.
there's one thing I want to clarify, and I think I understood. The kid on the bike didn't see you by accident. You think he was maybe a lookout in that
Hmm.
particular situation?
He was sent by, and then it was verified when we had someone else observing that when he went around the block where he thought was out of sight for us, he completely had turned his head and was looking up on the building. And there was no reason to, it's like when your dog looks up at the roof, like there's either a bird or a person or something up there. Dogs don't look up. Their whole world is down in front of them. So
That's
so
true.
it's reading the environment around you, and comparing your knowns versus your unknowns. So I always like to use whatever it is that's in there. And in that case, it was a very, very, very subtle cue. But in me standing in line for the food truck, that's a very big cue. So they fall somewhere on that scale.
Very cool. So a lot of us are going to be hitting the road for the holidays. Give us some, you guys have traveled all around the world. What's some things that we can be doing to make sure that we're safe in transit?
That's a great question, Andy. I think be practical. I like to take one thing at a time. For example, having a Pioneer kit in my car, tourniquet, personal first aid kit, salt or snow melt or sand, extra water, blankets, shovel, road flares. I live in the mountains, so I take that stuff very seriously. And maybe where you're at, sand and a shovel are probably only to bury your neighbor if he gets out of line, right? But in my
No comment.
situation, those will save your life. Having a full tank of gas, having that Pioneer kit. If I worry about that now, I know I'm not going to be broken down with my family at the side of the road because cell phones don't always work. Then I can worry about the shoes, wearing appropriate shoes for the situation I'm going to be in. I don't go on an airplane with flip flops. Then I worry about clothing. Am I wearing clothing? Do I have a pair of gloves? Simply a pair of gloves can be a game changer, having them with you when an emergency situation arises and things around you are on fire. So be practical. Give yourself the gift of time and distance. Conduct some mental rehearsal. And if you're going to spend money on a gift, spend money on training. There's training out there that's really good and really inexpensive, and it's going to help you stay alive and help safeguard your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I agree. So with Greg thing is, it's funny he just mentioned the don't wear flip flops on a plane, and that's a great, that's a,
Yeah.
one, you take that advice literally, but
Yes.
that's
Yes.
also metaphorically, it's have a plan. Any
Yeah.
plan is better than no plan at all. So
Hmm.
take into account some of those unexpected things. So for me, the Pioneer kit for me out here in Southern California is an extra beach towel, extra
Sunblock.
sunscreen, all that stuff. But it's the same concept. Like,
Right.
you build that routine of, you make sure your vehicle's always topped off on gas because you don't want to run out when you hit a traffic jam going into a major city. There's basic things that's what it comes down to. And that having that preparation up front is what allows you to relax and enjoy your time. I mean, because then you're not worried about anything else, and you can literally,
Absolutely.
like I say, be present in the moment, which allows you to observe anomalous human behavior and go, hey, what's that guy doing over there? So having a plan and doing a little bit of training with your family is the way to go.
I talk to people all the time and they're like, Andy, isn't this just, paranoia? And I'm like, no, once you make a plan, it actually frees you up to think more. And it seems kind of counterintuitive to everybody. So I'm so glad that you guys are sitting here telling us all that it's actually better off for you, not to fly by the seat of your pants.
Well, everyone's heard the quote that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and that was from Ben Franklin, and he was talking about fire prevention and cleaning out your chimney, and how many people died and how many buildings burned down because they didn't want to
Exactly.
clean out their chimney. I mean, but now all that stuff's so built into how we design schools and have fire drills that we forget that we learned all of those lessons the really hard way, and now it's so built in and ingrained that we don't even think about it. We don't even do it for ourselves anymore.
And the next time, and Brian, that's a great point. And Andy, the next time somebody mentions that to you, ask them about the Where's Waldo game or doing a Sudoku. Those are things that build your brain's energy, build your brain power, and build your elasticity. They're not about being paranoid. Holy crap, it's Waldo. That's not what it's about at all. Nobody can maintain hypervigilance. And as a matter of fact, you increase your human performance when you allow your brain to understand more about human behavior. Almost everybody wants their say, not their way. And so you're
Mm.
almost never going to get into that situation. But if you're not looking for it, it's going to surprise you. And when you're surprised, you act differently than you do when you're rehearsed.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I appreciate it. And you explained that really well. So,
Thanks.
we're heading into this holiday season. What are the things that you wish that every family knew about being safe this time of year?
Number one, you can be situationally aware and still have fun. You can go out and have a couple of drinks with your friends and eat at a nice restaurant and not be petrified the entire time that there's going to be a lone gunman walking in and take your life. Being aware of the situation and being situationally aware are completely copacetic and possible without you being wired for sound all day long.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I again, I try to build it. You build it into everything you do, right? It's not just, all right, I'm going out with the family, we're going to the mall, I need to be safe. This is inside the house with the family around the holidays. Now, my Irish Catholic family on the south side of Chicago, it's very dangerous around that time of year, but that's for the high level of alcohol consumption. But that's a different story.
It's not
Right.
just a tree that's likely to go up in flames. I'm just saying.
so so it's a little bit different, but it goes into how you deal with people, your relatives. We all have that crazy uncle or aunt that always starts some wacky discussion. So you can come up with a plan for how you're going to handle that, both internally and externally, when those situations arise, because they always do. so
Yeah.
so handling that difficult aunt is not unlike handling a difficult panhandler on the street. All right, just one
Exactly.
you have a personal relationship with. That's all.
Right.
And Christmas is coming up and New Year's is coming up. People are going to be imbibing. People are going to be laughing and having a good time. When's the last time you talked to your family about the Heimlich maneuver? Take a minute out
Yeah.
of your day and say, okay, if this comes up, this is where the fire extinguisher is. These are simple things that everybody can do that give you the peace of mind so you can enjoy yourself. You don't have to walk around wired all day long.
I like it. I like it. And especially in 2020, politics is going to be, this huge issue, whether you're gathering for Hanukkah, for Christmas, for whatever it is. So I think de-escalation is probably going to be a good key that everybody can use
Hmm.
in the house. All right, guys. So this is probably the most important question I'm going to ask you in this interview, and I want to hear from you. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Okay. So, first of all, I think it's not only a Christmas movie, but a Christmas date movie. Because when you lean over to your spouse or your significant other, whoever it is, and you say, Hans, shoot the glass, there's nothing more romantic than that line from a film.
That's so my take on this debate is it's not even a debate for me, and this shouldn't even be a discussion. Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie,
Yes,
and we should all thank Detective John McClane for that.
Okay.
absolutely.
So it's, what is it, Marren? It's Princess Bride after Die Hard. You know what I'm saying? And then the little drummer boy. However that goes, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I always love a good Princess Bride reference. That's awesome. Guys, I appreciate what you do. I appreciate Left of Greg podcast. Absolutely
Uh-huh.
love it. I appreciate you guys explaining the title of the show on episode number 100 because I looked at the artwork for it and I'm like, he's Left of Greg, but is he talking about Left of Bang and all that? That is awesome. I absolutely love it. Where can we find out more about you?
Yeah, you could check out the podcast, the Left of Greg podcast. It's on all the podcast players. We've got all kinds of different. We tackle a lot of different subjects on there, different topics, just through what we talk about human behavior. Occasionally, that spills over into constitutional law, so we get into a number of different areas, but we approach it from our lenses. So we're not here to go, hey, this is how it should be, this is how this is the conclusion you should arrive at. It's like, hey, this is how to approach these issues, and that's how we take it from. And then of course our website, Arcadia, Cognerati.com. You can find out more about us there and more about the work that we do, and just follow the links. I would guess Left of Greg podcast is the easiest to find, and then you'll find the links to get a hold of us and or shoot us a question. leftofgreg@gmail.com. That's the best way, because we get some listeners that want to have specific questions. We've done little recordings for them before or talked about it on the air, and we've gotten different episodes because of it came from the listeners. So we love it when people reach out.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate what you do, and I want you to have a happy holiday season.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Andy.
much, Andy.
Pleasure to be on the show.